What's going on? Andrew with YohDev here. Today we're going to be diving into what to expect before a discovery session with a full-stack engineering firm. Let's get started. So one of the main things that you really want to make sure that you're prepared for before you go into a discovery session is making sure that all of your requirements and what you're looking to get out of the session is shared with the company before you actually get into collaborating on the session with the full-stack engineering company. So some of the key things that you want to share with that company prior to that call is things like your project requirements, your goals, your outcomes, any project briefs or documentation that you've developed internally to communicate the vision of the project, why it's important to the company, what it's going to do for your company if it's successful. You also want to think about what don't you want. So in some cases, a company might assume like, okay, you want this idea and we're going to be working on it, and then they come up with really good ideas and then you sign off on it because it sounds really cool, but then you get to the end and it's like, that's not really, we didn't really want this thing, and now this is the thing that's causing maybe a budget issue or it's dragging the timeline on. So really be clear on what you want and what you don't want. And then once you actually, you have all that stuff, you hand it off to the team that you're going to be meeting with, then you go into that meeting and you are ready to roll. Be prepared to start deep diving into the things that you shared with the company. And in some cases, this can feel like work. It should feel like work. You should be collaborating and working. There's going to be a lot of questions being asked, theories, ideas, concepts that can be created with the end goal of figuring out exactly what you need for your project, the types of talent that's required as far as developers, project managers, designers, who all needs to be involved to deliver your project effectively, and then a high-level idea on how to get started with a project roadmap. All of these items are things that you should be getting from a discovery session, and making sure that you're fully aware of what to expect and how to prepare is very, very important. In some cases, you may already have a product, or you have some intellectual property or IP or a code base that you already have and you want to hand it off to a development team. Then what you want to do is you want to make sure you're getting an NDA signed in those types of cases, and that can actually really help with scoping and giving the full stack engineering company a full understanding of exactly what you're working on, and it can lead to better outcomes, not only in your project roadmap and the overall estimate for the project, but also just to get that company more context on what you're actually working on. So we're going through this fairly quickly, but some of the things that you can expect potentially in a discovery session are things like preliminary user story writing. So going through and writing out some user stories at a high level so that the company understands exactly, who they're solving the issues for, why they matter to that person, and how it fits into the Agile process. If you're not sure what Agile is or how that methodology works, I'm going to put a video linked in the description for you to check out, because we go over Agile versus waterfall approaches in project management, and we talk about user stories and all these things as well. But essentially, a user story is something that basically puts your feature, your new project, your ask, and it takes all that and it puts it in the voice of your end user, whether that be your employees, your customer, or whoever you're building your solution for. So user stories is something that you can expect during a discovery session in some cases. Definitely expect to talk about budget constraints. That's really big because in this industry, you can deliver proof of concept MVPs at a very kind of low budget kind of a scenario. But if you have a little bit more of a budget and you need a more polished product, or you're building on top of an existing product that requires more full stack engineering, more technical expertise, you're going to need a bigger budget for things like that. So understanding your budget constraints and communicating them and being clear is very important. Another thing to keep in mind is any internal target dates. So you might have a product release, a new website launch that's going to be promoting your products or services, or a big marketing push, or you might be getting, some dates from stakeholders from high up that are saying, hey, we really need to align this with the quarter here. We need to make sure the budgets are set, all that sort of stuff. So make sure that the target dates and all those things you're ready to talk about. Any inspiration sites or competitor products that you want to share with the company is very helpful as well. Potentially even going through and reviewing those in the discovery session, seeing how they work, testing them out is also something else that you can expect during these discovery sessions. Once you're through the discovery session, be prepared to get some kind of a pitch, some kind of an estimate. That's basically, that's what the discovery sessions are there for, but make sure you're getting value out of it as well. It's very important that, even if you're not ready to move forward with a company financially, that time is spent in a productive, profitable way, meaning that you're not wasting your time with this provider, but you're gathering information to make an informed decision. And when you see, what's produced at the end, it's typically an estimate, some kind of a roadmap, and how to get started. That in and itself could be really valuable for your company, even if you choose not to go with that provider, because you at least went through the practice of the discovery session and kind of determined what you need, how much it's going to cost, and what timeline can look like. If you are looking to go through a discovery session with a full stack engineering company like YohDev, I have a link in the description for you to go check out. We love our discovery sessions. We have fun with them. We dive into your project, we help produce preliminary user stories, a rough roadmap, and an estimate on your project. And at the end, I promise you'll have a good time, and I promise that you'll get value out of what we'll deliver for you.